Evening.
Please lock your weapon.
Expect a big ping, brother. The whole body's a weapon. Sorry.
When they start to kill me, run. What is that?
My name is Sarah Connor. I hunt Terminators.
He's the most lethal Terminator ever created.
I'm going to help you protect the girl.
So you're Carl.
That's what everyone calls me, yes.
I'm never gonna call you Carl. If we don't win this one, it's all over.
But how is all of this possible? Because the truth is this, which you've never been told, and you're going to hear it here for the very first time in your whole entire life. There is a structure of compartmentalization, and it guides everything that is produced in this world, so you do not have the knowledge of how it works, so you cannot produce it yourself. And this compartmentalization, as you've come to understand this as we are teaching you, is based on what? Keeping secrets. A structure of keeping secrets such that we will never know how things work. This even goes down into the production, because let's break it down for you. If people are producing manufactured, even the demons, the albinos, anybody with straight hair, the slaves, the white man, the Caucasian, whom are not Orientals, who grow tails, they would have been able, because they talk without even knowing that they talk, they would have been able to tell you, listen, let us tell you this is manufactured, but they don't know. They can't even say it. Why? Because the structure of the way things work in this world is compartmentalized. That is why they have supply chains, production chains, all to compartmentalize, keep secrets of how everything is done, so nobody knows how it's done from scratch, from start to finish. So they can never tell you what is. And that is what is going on in everything, including how the world is controlled. So nobody knows how anything is done from scratch except the elites at the very top, a very few of them, which don't even amount up to 200. They are the ones at the top who know how everything is done from scratch. But everybody else does not know. Why? Because through compartmentalization. So now we want to show you how the structure of compartmentalization works, and also how the structure of compartmentalization works into how the world is run. We've already revealed this to you, but we have to go over it here again for you to understand how the structure of world control works. So you would have been accustomed to this chart on several acts of shape of world, but you're going to have to use this over and over again for you to understand how nobody knows. Because let's tell you this openly, there is so much poisons in the world, so much evil going on in the world. And if people had the idea of how all these poisons were made, that they feed us, which makes us sick for mankind, black people, and poisons demons, albinos, anybody with straight hair who grow tails, so they don't grow those tails and animal features in the white man, the Caucasian, whom are not Orientals, the mixed people, half mixed, quarter mixed, we would be able to expose it to you. They would be able to expose it to you, but they do not know, because there is a structure of how the world is set up and how everything runs. So nobody knows what is going on through compartmentalization, which just means segregation. You're segregated from knowing what the other person knows, and even if you were to meet in the same room and talk about it, you still would not understand each other, because one person is speaking based on what they are taught with the labels and spellings. Another person is speaking on the same thing, not even knowing they're talking about the same thing, but based on the labels and the spelling that they have been trained by, they don't know. Compartmentalization. Because an evil, stupid doctor, because doctors are stupid, the only real doctors in the world pay attention to the words. The only real doctors in the world are midwives, people who help your bones to heal. They set your bones in place and try to make your bones to heal if they were cracked. And then recently, you have what they call dentists, who help you structure your teeth, because when you get poisoned by food that you eat, the very first things that are going to be affected by the poisons that you eat is going to be your kidneys and your tooth. So recently, we have a lot of dentists. So out of those three that we have mentioned, all right, a midwife who helps a woman to deliver babies, a bone healer or constructor which helps to set your bones in place if they have been broken. And recently, the dentist shouldn't even be there, but they are there now because we are being severely poisoned. Anybody else who is in the medical field is a liar, a thief and a cheat. And this is your warning right now. If you don't belong to those two categories, and then the third one we just mentioned, you better leave and go start farming, because everything that we need to cure our sicknesses and diseases is in farming. Growing real food free of poisons. It's that simple. And everybody gets healed and will not have any sickness or diseases. So go find another job, and the only job that you should go find is go back into farming. So continuing on here, we want to show you the structure of world control, of how things are done so nobody understands what is going on. And for some reason, we are all keeping secrets from one another because of compartmentalization. They have taught us how to keep secrets without us knowing, through what? Through everybody believing that they fit in a certain category and teaching us that in this category, this is what you know, or this is how things are done, for us not to know that everything is related. Because a doctor will never think that what he's doing is related to what a mechanic is doing. That is how crazy it is, but it's all related. And we've been taught not to know. That is why there has been a segregation of knowledge through teaching us that a lawyer, whatsoever a lawyer does, is different from what a doctor does. And that what a doctor does is different from what an engineer does, when it's all one and the same, and you're going to understand this right now. To break this down very, very simply for you to understand, a doctor believes that he is healing, that he provides drugs or recommends the drugs that you should take so you get healed of any sickness that you have. But the doctor does not know that every drug that he prescribes for you or recommends for you comes from a farm. So the doctor does not know that being a doctor is related to farming, because how they spell the word pharmacy, they spelled it with PH instead of with an F. And you would understand that when a doctor recommends that you should go take some drugs from a pharmacy, he's technically telling you to go to a farm, and that the farm produces the drugs. Because what? The foods that we eat or everything that we consume comes from a farm. So when you take a drug, let's break this down very simply. When you take a drug, you put the drug in your mouth. What do you do with your mouth? You eat food, right? So the drug that you're taking is what? Food. But the evil doctors have been trained not to understand that the drugs that they put in your mouth that give you to feed, or they feed you intravenously, or they poke a needle with you and put it into your skin or muscles or body, is all food, because that is how we eat food. We take in food. So anything you take into your body is what? Food. And where does food come from? Farming. So you see how they trained us wrongly? Not to understand that everything is connected. Let's break it down even more. A mechanic, all right, repairs cars, all right? What are the cars used for? The cars are engines or automobiles used to move what? Food. The tractors, the harvesters are all what? They are all cars of different sizes and shape. How about the airplane? It's still the same thing. They are all cars which fly in the sky. And they move what? They move agriculture and farming equipments. So the mechanic has no idea that what he is doing still comes from the farm. So this is how we've been trained wrongly for a very long time. And now you understand that in very short, few simple words. So let's get into it now on the structure of world control. So you know how the elites are able to hide how the world works and how everything works. So we do not know anything at all, because it's all been compartmentalized, because we have been trained to think that nothing is related to anything else, but only it serves that stuff based on what? Labels, spelling. So we do not know that pharmacy spelled with a PH is the same as spelling pharmacy with an F. F-A-R-M-A-C-Y. That's all. So that is why people would manufacture, and they can't even know that they are manufacturing. All of this is going to be revealed as we get along, and you will fully understand it in a very short minute. So let's continue on now. So with understanding how things are manufactured and we don't know what it is based on compartmentalization. Now, here's one thing you don't understand. Compartmentalization can only work if you control all the aspects of production. All right? All the aspects of production. So for example, let's break this down very simply for you to understand. Now, as we have taught you and you have come to understand that there is only one plant in the world which you can grow every 3 months and harvest, which is, and can be used to make such things as flour, which is the basics of producing any processed food that we eat, with other ingredients added to it, as you're going to find out. Now is the basis. So this is how it starts. And you will understand this as we break it along, so you understand the supply chain and production chain. So if you notice, you never pay attention, there is assembly plants all over the world. They assemble parts of anything that they produce, and they do not assemble the whole entire product. So that means, for example, if you drive, let's say, a Volkswagen car, the Volkswagen car is going to be assembled. That means different companies are going to produce all the parts, all right? And these different companies are not going to know that they are related, all right? Or that the same person owns all of them. When they produce all those different parts, another company is going to sit down and then assemble parts of the Volkswagen, but not assemble the whole Volkswagen. They just assemble some parts, send it to another company who assembles some parts, send it to another company who assembles some parts, send it to another company who assembles some parts, and then all of it comes together because they will be only assembling parts and parts and parts and parts of the Volkswagen until the final company assembles the last parts of the Volkswagen car, and it is pulled out for you to drive. And then because of this, nobody knows, all right, how the Volkswagen car works except the executive who knows how the Volkswagen car works from start to finish, who will sit down and tell the mechanics, if this part of the car, if you can trace the fault to this part of the car, this is what you need to replace, and that's it. So only the executive at the top, the real top, knows what's going on. He's going to sit down and supply all that information. Nobody's going to know anything. So the mechanic who will diagnose and fix your Volkswagen car which has gone bad will only know what to replace based on what he's been taught. That if a fault arises here, this is what you should replace. But he will never know how the car, the Volkswagen car, is made from scratch. And that is how the whole system of the world structure of the world works. Compartmentalization, with only few people knowing how things are really done. So that is why you're looking at this chart, which has been explained through several acts of shape of world, but we have to keep repeating it so you understand it. Because everything that's working in this world led by the elites is compartmentalized. Only a few people at the very top, the evil black elites led by, know which one or how everything works from scratch. But everybody else does not know based on what? Segregation, compartmentalization, labeling with a spell. So that's why you're looking at this chart right here, and let's explain it fully for you to know how the structure of world power and control really works, so you will never ever be deceived again, because the priesthood is teaching you how to think. So this is a diagram that explains to you the structure of world power and control, how things are made so that nobody knows what's going on. And before we start to explain this, let's explain something very simple for you to understand. So there is a chain of how reports are passed on to the superiors. And the chain that you need to understand before we get into explaining the structure of world power and control is this. So, if you are reporting to someone else, let's say, for example, you are trying to tell your superior in any establishment that you have in this world of something, you who are reporting to that superior do not know whom that superior is reporting to. Does that make sense? So you report to your superior, but your superior reports to someone else. You who are reporting to the superior do not know whom the superior is reporting to. So there is a break of you knowing how information is passed on or traversed. So if you try, to target anyone who's your superior, you would not know whom to target, because you do not know whom your superior is reporting to, and your superior does not know whom he is reporting to. So on and so forth. Nobody knows whom their superiors are reporting to, and therefore they cannot make any kind of effective change in whatsoever reports, because they do not know whom their own superior is reporting to. You only know the superior that you're reporting to directly. You do not know whom the superior is reporting to. And this goes on for everyone. So at the end of the day, if your superior now decides that you, whom reported to him, you get fired, right? Pay attention. You get fired, right? And you want to make a report that you got fired at your job by your superior. You do not know whom the superior that you're reporting to, who is the one who fired you, is reporting to, and therefore nobody is going to know the true story of what really happened, because your superior only works by what? He only works based on what his superior he is reporting to, and you do not know that. So your superior can fire you. You're going to target your own superior, but the person who made you fired was your superior's superior. Does that make sense? So that is how the whole entire system is rigged, such that someone will send information down. And how is it possible that they can send information down and it is carried out with no restraints? Nobody's going to ask any questions here on and there out. Is because of this. The superiors at the very top own all the companies, and every other superior who is working for them is a member of their family. They will not be told, because everything is compartmentalized, except for the family heads who know how you got that job, because they made you to go get that job, because you belong to those lineages and families who own all the companies. So what are we saying in essence? Pay attention to the words. Nobody in this world has an ability to fire anybody except they are owners of the company or institution. Play that back again and hear it again. If you fire someone from any company or an institution, you have to be an owner of that company or institution. So that's why you're looking at this chart, for you to understand how the structure of world power and control works. The elites, the evil black elites led by, own every single company and institution in this world. But you do not know that every organization is a company. Let's break it down further. You go to the police department of any country that you are in this world. But do you know that all police units, departments, organizations is a company owned by someone? You'll understand. Bear with us, we're still explaining. Every single thing that is a company or institution is owned. But you're not taught this because the evil black elites do not want you to understand how the structure of world power and control works. They don't want you to understand that. The police is a company. It is owned by someone. The judiciary system is a company. It's owned by someone. The city council is a company. It's owned by someone. The state government is a company. It's owned by someone. The Central Intelligence Agency is a company. It's owned by someone. The government of the United States is a company. It's owned by someone. The Federal Reserve is a company. It's owned by someone. The central bank of any country in the world is owned by someone. The Ports Authority is owned by someone, is a company. The Immigration Office is owned by someone, is a company. The TSA is owned by someone, is a company. Every so-called structure of that they have made you to believe that you are a part of, which you're going to understand in a very short minute, is owned by someone. They are all companies. Whether they call them the police, whether they call them the Ports Authority, whether they call them your housing department, whether they call them your local government, whether they call it your Senate, whether they call it your House of Representatives, whether they call it the FDA, whether they call it the World Bank, whether they call it the European Council, whether they call it the International Monetary Fund, IMF, they are all companies and owned by someone. And everybody who works in that company is an employee. But they do not want you to understand that you are an employee. Why? Because when you understand this in very simple terms, hear and hear as well, pay attention, so you will understand this. Let's say, for example, that you go and create a company, and you say, this company that I have created, we are dealing with the production of palm oil. All right? You create a company. Then you have a farm. It's your own farm that you harvest palm fruits from. All right? And you pay people to help you harvest the palm fruits and go to your company and produce palm oil. It is your company. You own the farm that produces the palm fruit. You own the machines that help you to turn the palm fruit into palm oil. And you hire people to help you, all right, to harvest the palm fruits, and you employ people or hire people to help you work on the machines to produce the palm oil. Let's ask you a question now. No matter how hard that employee or person you hired works, diligent, comes on time every single day, has no excuses, doesn't argue with you whatsoever you do, and he helps you to harvest the palm fruits, take it to your machine, and help you produce the palm oil. Will you in any way, shape, or form promote this hard-working employee to become the owner or part owner of your business in harvesting and producing palm oil. No, it is not. It's not possible. If you have a company, no matter how hard the employee works, you can never make him to be part owner of the company and your company, except he is what? He is a child of yours or member of your family that you can do that. But the elites have trained us over the years to make us believe that if you work hard at any company that you know that you did not create, is not your own, that you can get promoted to the rank of being a co-owner as the owner of the company. Do you see the lie right there? Because there is no way in this world that you can go bring a stranger. A stranger is an employee. Someone you hire to help you do your business and make him to be in the same rank as you, the owner of the business. But why did the evil black elites train us this way? To make us believe that if you are not the owner of the FBI, the CIA, a state government, all right, the electoral commission of your country, or the state commission of your country, or the federal government of your country, or the central bank of your country, that through hard work that you can get to be the owner of the company, as you've come to understand that every institution is a company. Why did they have to make you think this way? So you will never ever go and make your own company and be a competition against them. Because this is how we are not trained to think logically and correctly. The only way you can make real change is not making a change in the institution or company that you're working for. Let's explain this. You work for the FBI, and you notice that the FBI has certain types of laws or guidelines that are detrimental, all right, to the FBI working correctly. And you as an employee go and tell them, this is what I see. This is not allowing the FBI to work correctly. If you were the owner of a company, all right, and you had a company that produced palm oil, and your employee comes and tells you, I do not like the way you're producing this palm oil, when you have already ascertained this is how you produce your palm oil, will you listen to that employee? No. You will remove them or fire them because they're not doing the instructions that you told them. You are the owner of the company. But they've trained us not to think that way. That as an employee of a company that you do not own, you can only do the instructions of your employer. Why? Because they do not want you to go out of their company, and for the evil practices they have done, you correct it by establishing your own company and doing things right. That puts them out of business. We have not been taught this, and so we do not know. So that is how the structure of world power on control works. Everything that you know that is an institution is a company owned by someone. And since you are not the owner of that company, no matter how hard you work, you can never be promoted to be the same as the owner of the company. No matter how hard you work for me and I own a company, As long as you are an employee and I hired you, you are a stranger. I can never promote you to the rank of saying you are also co-owner of the company. It's impossible. But we've been trained this way by the evil black elites, so we do not know and become a competition against them. Because the only way you can make real change in this world is not to go to the company or establishment that you work for and try to change them. Go and create your own and correct all the evil practices that they did, and you can make real change. Because if you were producing bad palm oil with evil practices, and then you go and produce your own palm oil the right way with correct practices, all the customers that went to that company to buy the bad palm oil with their evil practices will all go to yours once they taste it and know it that this is good palm oil. But you have not been trained that way not to understand that the whole entire structure of world control and power, from the industries that manufacture your cell phone, your television, your airplanes, the food that you eat, and everything else, the government itself, are all companies owned by someone. And that is what we are here for, to explain it to you so you understand. So you understand this as we are teaching you right here, that every institution, city or country, industry is a company owned by someone. And therefore, if you don't understand that, you can now understand that within a company, there are rules and regulations. There are rules and regulations that govern the company. And if you have a company, you will set those rules and regulations, and you will not want to change them because you have a goal or purpose that you want to achieve. And the rules, laws, or guidelines of these companies is the plan to achieve that goal. So laws, rules, guidelines are all plans to achieve a certain goal. So that's what you have to come to understand. So for example, the Creator gave us 13 commandments. What do you think those 13 commandments are? Is a plan to achieve a goal of creating righteous people. So in a company, they set the rules and the guidelines, but they have trained you as the employee or stranger who's not the owner of the company. When you go see the evil laws, rules, and guidelines of the company, you as the employee want to change it. But the company sets those evil rules, laws, and guidelines to achieve a purpose. But they've made you as the employee not to understand that the laws, rules, and guidelines of the company is a plan to achieve a purpose or a goal. So you as the employee, because they've made you to believe, when you go work for a company, let's say you work for the United States government or you work for the Central Bank or Federal Reserve, they have made you to believe that these institutions, which are companies, are there to serve you, the public. Do you see how they've lied to you in the evil black elites? They have made you to believe that all the companies in the world, as you come to understand that every institution, every organization, every country, every city, every state, every industry is a company owned by someone. They have deceived the public for them to believe that all these companies, whether it be the police, the judiciary system, is there to serve you, the public. Why do they make you believe that? So that you, as the public, will never go and establish your own company and become a competitor to them. So that's why they give you the runaround as an employee in a company. You see evil laws, evil rules, evil regulations. They make you believe that you can change it. So in your mentality, you believe that all the public institutions, whether it be the state government, the city council, the presidency of the United States, or any presidency of the whole entire countries of the world, that you can make a change to give you the runaround. So you never will go establish your own and be a competitor to them. So they give you the runaround inside those companies to believe that you can change the rules, laws, and regulations. But it's not possible, because let me ask you a question. If you own a company of yours and you have certain things that you have set up that the company must do in terms of the laws and regulations and rules, will you allow somebody who is a stranger, who is an employee, who did not create the company, to come in and change those laws and rules when you've already set the laws and rules already and guidelines, which is a plan for your company to achieve a purpose, an aim, a goal? Does that make sense to you? We can break it down very simply. The Creator gave us the 13 commandments. Do you think that He will allow anybody to come and change those 13 commandments to defeat His plan and purpose for having a righteous people in the earth? No. It's the same with all the evil institutions, which are all companies owned by someone. So therefore, if you really want to make a change, the most effective way to make a change, if you see something going on in any company or institution or organization in this world that you do not like, do not waste your energy trying to change it inside the institution or organization, because this is how the evil black elites have trained us to think that you can make changes inside of an institution or organization that you do not own. What you have to do is to create your own company and therefore be a competition that changes things, does things correctly, and everybody else who is in that evil company, if they are righteous, they will leave and come to you, and sooner or later the evil company is going to die. And that is where we are now in history. This is the reason why the priesthood gave you offers of how to make electricity, how to get your own petroleum, on health, as you're listening even right here, and also on telecommunications, so that you can create your own companies and make real change and not do evil but do righteousness. So what you're looking at the screen again is a chart which we have to use to explain to you the structure of evil world power and control, so you know how things work, because everything is compartmentalized totally by the evil black elites. It's so compartmentalized to the point that a father who inbreeds, because this is what the evil black elites do, they inbreed, right? they will inbreed and have so many children and so many relations, but they will not tell the children how they are related. They only tell the heir or the leader of the family unit the relationship, because everything has to be kept a secret such that it is not revealed and known publicly. Does that make sense? Because once the public has knowledge, their rulership is over. So they even keep their secrets of how the family is related to other family members, so that the children cannot talk about it and compromise the secret, and it becomes public knowledge. Let's show you an example here of somebody who is in the music industry. His name is Jeffrey Daniels. He choreographed a lot of Michael Jackson's videos for 20 years, but he was never told that he was related to Michael Jackson, and he was working. He had a job. So we are showing you how a lot of people in the companies that you go and work for as an employee, you will see that certain people in the company have such good roles. They are either in top management or something, but you as an employee who has worked for that company, has slaved for it, hardworking, diligent, you never get promoted, but someone just comes in and they give him a position that's higher than yours, because this is what people don't understand. In a normal sense, because we are not taught, the way promotion is supposed to work is that if you have been in the company long, that means you have served the company for like 5 years, somebody else has served it for 2 years, you who have served the company for 5 years should get a promotion. You keep getting promoted for the years of service that you have spent in each company till you arrive at the position of being, let's say, a manager or director. But this does not happen in reality. An employee will stay in a company, has worked for that company for 10 years. Then they just bring someone else who was not even in the company and they make them manager. So they have lied to you, so you do not understand what is going on, because they are trying to make you believe that if you work for a company, that if you work hard and long enough, that you will be raised to a position of being almost equal to the owners of the company. But it's not true. The only people who can be raised to the position of being equal to the owners of the company are members of the family of the owner of the company, or people who are related to the owner of the company. Does that make sense? So wipe it out from your mind today. Every institution or organization in this world is a company owned by someone. It doesn't matter what name they say, whether it's the police department, here and so forth. But continuing back to the story of Jeffrey Daniels here. Jeffrey Daniels got a job working for Michael Jackson for 20 years. And he got a good high-paying job. And most people who are better choreographers in the public will never get that job. And they'll wonder, I know I choreograph better than Jeffrey Daniels. I'm more intelligent. I applied for this job to work for Michael Jackson because I know I can do better. But he gets the job and I don't. Why? Jeffrey Daniel got the job because he is related to Michael Jackson. But his own father, because the elites have several children and several families, they have a public family in which the public is supposed to say, oh, this is the family of, let's say, Joe Jackson. But he has several other families and they are not mentioned. They're going to have different names, but they will get high-paying jobs, good jobs, become celebrities, and you who are better than them in everything that they do don't get it. So let's play that short clip right here and you see how Jeffrey Daniel tells you the story that his own father never told him that they were cousins to Michael Jackson, and he had worked with Michael Jackson for 20 years, choreographed most of his videos, and taught him how to dance, even the moonwalk. Let's play that clip, then we come back and continue showing you this chart so you understand how the structure of world power and control works, so you're never fooled again for you being a righteous person.
Interesting, but there's no way we'll have this conversation. We're not going to talk about Michael Jackson. 16 years down the line, he's passed, and sometimes it's always very interesting to hear people talk about personal relationship with icons, other icons, because you are an icon in your own right as well. And of course, the issue around the story around you teaching Michael Jackson the moonwalk, or the backslide movement, as it's called. So talk to us about that relationship, that particular relationship. I don't know, I'm sure you've spoken about this over and over again.
Well, I mean, it's funny because now it's in a totally new context. Michael saw me doing the backslide in '79 on Soul Train with the group Eclipse that I put together. And then in 1980, he came to watch us perform at Disneyland. He brought little Janet Jackson, and they stood in the wing and they watched us dance. Then he asked me to teach him to dance. I choreographed a bad video, Smooth Criminal video. I'm in the Beat It video, but just a little in it. And I went to Brazil with him for the They Don't Really Care About Us video. I worked on the Ghost. I worked with Michael over a 20-year period. And the last job I had in America was at MJJ Music, his record company, as A&R and creative consultant. And so, but the funny thing is, because my father didn't raise me, but in 2008, my father showed me my family tree and found out that I'm Michael's cousin. So all the years we were working together, I never knew that we were related to the Jacksons, and we know that now. So,
But the funny thing is, because my father didn't raise me, but in 2008, my father showed me my family tree and found out that I'm Michael's cousin. So all the years we were working together, I never knew that we were related to the Jacksons, and we know that now. So
But the funny thing is, because my father didn't raise me, but in 2008, my father showed me my family tree and found out that I'm Michael's cousin. So all the years we were working together, I never knew that we were related to the Jacksons, and we know that now. So
But the funny thing is, because my father didn't raise me, but in 2008, my father showed me my family tree and found out that I'm Michael's cousin. So all the years we were working together, I never knew that we were related to the Jacksons, and we know that now. So we now call each other cousin all the time. We speak Jermaine Jackson, Janet, and Randy, and the older sister Reeve. We call each other cousin all the time. But all the time we were working, I never knew we were related.
And you can now understand that everything is compartmentalized. It's kept a secret by segregation, because this is how the evil black elites led by the run the world on compartmentalization, which just means, in very simple words, keeping secrets, keeping knowledge away from you, because the only way the world is run by knowledge. And you've come to understand why they teach you all the bullshit that they teach you in religion and the educational system. So let's continue on to the chart now. So as you're looking at this particular structure of world power and control, you can see that the base here of this evil world power and control structure starts with that there are families all over the world, the wealthiest, richest families in the world, and pay attention to the words. They are all black. Every white person Every person who has straight hair, the demons, the albinos, anybody with straight hair, the white man, the Caucasians, the mixed people, the quarter mixed people whom are not Orientals, all right? They are all servants. But because of the way the system and structure of the world is set up, they do not know that they are servants and slaves to mankind, black people who own every single thing, every single institution in this world. As you have come to understand, they are all companies owned by someone. So for example, if you go to China, China is a country, right? It is owned by someone. The president of China right there that you see, who makes all the laws, is a servant to a black man. That is the truth. So anybody who is not black, mankind, has woolly hair, is a servant and a slave. That's the truth. But they do not want you to know that. That is why they created this lie of white supremacy and poisoned us to make it believable. So you will never know that mankind, black people, own everything in this world. Because as we've told you, common sense tells you this. If you are the richest, wealthiest person in the world, you do not expose yourself for security reasons. So nobody is going to come and attack you or try to get something from you. But we've been trained over the years to believe and think that when somebody says that they are the richest, wealthiest person, and Forbes magazine tells you, oh, Oprah has $1.2 billion. Dangote has $20 billion. They are all pawns. That's the truth. Because a rich, wealthy person, common sense, in normal thinking, if you're that rich and wealthy, you're not going to expose yourself. So nobody's going to sit down because, let's say, for example, as they tell you, Forbes magazine, Oprah is worth $1.2 billion. Do you think that somebody will not sit down and plan? It might take him 10 years, 5 years to plan to get Oprah's money and possibly even kill her to get that money? Yes, they can do it. But people in this world cannot do it because what happens is this. If you're broke and poor, this is the truth which they don't tell you. If you're broke and poor, you as a person, you as an individual, you don't have the time to sit down and think about things logically, come to a conclusion, or plan something and come to a fruition. This is what they don't teach you. So that's why they use so much poverty and so much stress on the public, so the public cannot think. Because when you're worried about daily living and how to survive, you don't have time to plan for anything. So the only people who have the time to plan are rich, wealthy people because their mind is free. They are not worried about the rigors of living, how they're going to eat, where they're going to live. Everything else is taken care of. So their minds are now free to think and plan and do whatsoever that they want to do. This is what they don't teach you. So that's why nobody has sat down for the past 10 years to do what? To plan and say, okay, they told me Oprah has $1.2 billion. I'm going to plan and make sure that I can get $1 million from her and possibly kill her. Because everybody is poor, broke. They are so concerned with daily life that they have no time to be able to think logically, clearly about anything. Because when you're worried about your bills and your monthly bills or your weekly bills, you don't have time to think about anything else because you don't got the money to pay those bills. So you're working, so you're not thinking. So that's why everybody is not thinking right, because of the pressures of trying just to live. So now, next thing that we have to explain is this. If you as an individual cannot sit and think logically on your own because of the pressures of life in trying to settle your bills and try to live, The only way you can do it is that you come together as a group. That is why unity is so important. Because if you alone are supposed to pay, let's say $10 for anything, it is very, very difficult if you're only making $2 a day. But if you have somebody else, all right, who's also making the $2 a day, and all you people need to pay is $10, the weight is reduced. So true criminality with people who are poor comes from the fact that they come together in unity. When they come together in unity, the burden and the stress of them trying to survive becomes what? Minimal. Because you are all sharing that burden of the same thing. And that is how they can sit and plan for something. So true criminals, you will always notice this. They work as a unit. Working as a unit reduces the burden of everything. That is why the evil black elites led by these unite everybody. They make you think of things in a divisive manner so you never come to a conclusion and you can be unified and do something, make real difference and real change. Let's show you an example. Christianity is based on Jesus Christ, right? And the evil black elites led by the whom invented Christianity know that Christianity can be a unifying factor even when it is filled with lies and is a lie. But what did they do? They decided to create a division in Christianity so that no Christians will have a unity, and then someone can tell them this is what you ought to do. So that is why in Christianity, you have Protestant, you have Orthodox, you have Luciferian, you have the so-called prosperity gospel preachers, so on and so forth. Christianity has a whole lot of divisions based on the same thing. Why do you think those divisions are there? Did the divisions happen organically? No. The evil black elites led by the created that division so that there will be no unity, that all the Christians do not become unified in one way, single way of thinking, and that someone tells them the truth and they all unified will do that truth. So that's why they create divisions in everything so there is no unity. So because unity breaks the burden of the stress of life. Does that make sense? The stress of the fabricated poverty of living in this world which they created. Unity breaks that. So that's why they don't want unity in anything. So they always have to give you divisions in everything, even with the religion, which is a cult, as you're going to understand as we get along here, which they created, including Islam. So continuing on, for you to understand this chart is that families all over the world which are black, mankind, they are of a lineage of kings, and different kings, all right, own certain specialization in different fields. Because when you hear the word king, you don't understand that kings means kingdom. What does kingdom mean? It means an area of land. And the people who have the most land in the world are kings. Why do you need to understand this? Because they've never taught you this. True wealth, the foundation for true wealth, first and foremost, starts with you owning land. The more land you own, the more wealthy you are. And all through this evil history that we are in right now, after the flood, the people who have the most land in the world are kings. They have stolen lands from other people They are owned public, and that is why today all land in this world, what do they say? It is owned by the state. Who is the state? A company. Owned by whom? Someone. And who is that someone? A king. Do you understand what we're saying now? So you understand this first part of this graph that we're showing you on the structure of the evil world power and control. Family strata with specialization in different fields and a controller of the families, which will be the heir of those families, and technically speaking, a king. That is the basis of world power and control. There are families who are wealthy, and wealth comes from the fact that you have to own land. And kings always owned a majority of the lands. Even today, it's been escalated to the point that they steal land by saying all land is property of the state. That is why if you go to buy any property in any country of this world, they give you a certificate of occupancy, not a certificate of ownership. And the next thing that you have to understand is this: all this land owned by kings, all the kings have different specialization in what their forefathers trained them on. So they keep that knowledge of a specialization in any field to do what they are supposed to do and to make sure that they stay in ownership of that specialization and nobody else owns it. And when you come to understand that everything is compartmentalized, that means they don't just pass the knowledge of this specialization to anybody in the family. They only give it to the heir of the family or the family leader to continue to hold that knowledge. And nobody else will know anything or how things work except that heir. The only problem happens is that if that heir dies without having passed on the true knowledge and specialization which they have kept for centuries since after the flood, all right, that knowledge is lost. So whenever you hear the word spirits, as we've explained earlier, it just means this: everything that you as a parent know, you teach your child. So therefore, the child carries the mindset that you have, and that is what they call spirit. Nothing more. Spirit just means mindset. So let's continue now to show you the next graph or next step for you to understand this evil structure of world power and control.
fairy tale life. They want the public to think that the Jackson Five and the Jacksons were this wonderful, loving family that grew up together, and we were not like that. We were not that perfect image that the record company wanted us to be. And I'm not saying this just to destroy the family, but I'm saying this to let people know that that doesn't exist. And we had a lot of hard times in our family. We really did, emotionally.
Do you think that's why Michael can connect emotionally with someone?
I think it has a lot to do with it.
Because that you can means you're so healthy that you can make any kind of a commitment to someone, that you can trust anybody.
Shy. There were so many things wrong with us that we didn't really realize it, because we thought it was normal. Because when you live like that and your parents keep you so secluded from the rest of the world, you think these things are normal, and they're not. And not until you walk out into the outside world you realize, gosh, I'm so different.
Yeah.
And you look at people and you go, gosh, because even with the religion teaches you to stay in that realm and don't associate with anyone outside the religion.
Right.
So there again, you're secluded again, and you're sheltered by that.
So once you've now understood that families, and when we're talking about families here, we're talking about kings, all right? That they have specialization in different sciences which they have stolen, or the inversion sciences which they use to do all manner of wickedness and abomination against their public, to oppress and subject them. And that this is the basis for the control of world power and structure. And that these families have heirs, and that everything is compartmentalized based on the fact that a family, such as a king, can have several different families which bear different names, so that the public does not know that all these people that you see, different families, different people, are all children of one person who happens to be a king, because they inbreed. Now, these families have existed for centuries. The reason why we do not know, because this is a structure which the evil black elites put up so that the public would never be able to catch up with what they're doing and terminate them, is that these evil families of the world, which have different specialization in different fields, and they keep a hold of that field, the knowledge, so that nobody else gets it. And when we say nobody else gets it, it means other kings among them. So they all have different specialization which they do not share. If they ever share, they come to an agreement. That is why, if you notice in today's world, you will notice that there is so many mergers and acquisitions. Those mergers and acquisitions that you see of companies is these kings coming to an agreement that they can share the knowledge of the specialization they have for different reasons, or for the same reason and the same goal, which is always what? The oppression of the public and the subjection of the public to them.
Number 10. Pfizer plus Pharmacia equals Pfizer Inc. Founded in 1911, the rapidly growing Swedish pharmaceutical company Pharmacia showcased its first demonstration of market power with the purchase of American rivals Upjohn in 1995 and Monsanto less than 5 years later. During that time, Monsanto had been developing the anti-inflammatory drug known as celecoxib, which had been eyed by Pfizer during its final development stages. Beaten to the punch by Pharmacia, the American Pfizer announced a purchasing deal of Pharmacia as a whole in July 2002, with a transaction tag of $60 billion US. Less than 7 years later, Pfizer would agree to purchase rival Wyeth for approximately $68 billion. Today, Pfizer Inc. is worth more than twice as much at $172 billion US. Number 9. Royal Dutch Petroleum plus Shell Transport and Trading equals Royal Dutch Shell. Originally two separate entities from entirely different industries, the merge of the oil transporting company that was Shell and the Royal Dutch Petroleum Company was provoked to compete against the market's monarch John D. Rockefeller and his leading Standard Oil Company. The newly merged Royal Dutch Shell Group then quickly expanded to every emerging subfield in the industry, with more recent investments in renewable energy and power generation garnering massive public support and continued competitive profits. Despite a drop in sales in the last few years, Royal Dutch Shell stands as the fourth largest company in the world in terms of revenue and announced an agreement to purchase major British competitor BG Group for $70 billion US. Number 8. AT&T Inc. plus Bell South Corporation equals AT&T. Number 7. British Petroleum plus Amoco equals BP PLC. Number 6. Facebook plus Instagram equals Facebook.
You've closed the Instagram acquisition.
Yeah,
Can you talk about it now?
Number 5. Exxon plus Mobil equals Exxon Mobil Corp.
Today, we step on the gas in a brand new vehicle with 0 kilometers on the odometer and over 200 years of experience behind the wheel.
Direct descendants of Rockefeller's Standard Oil, the successor siblings Exxon and Mobil found their way back into each other's arms a little under a century after separation. Number 4. Travelers Group plus Citicorp equals Citigroup Inc. The largest merger of its kind, this mega bank was one that showcased the old and the new coming together. Number 3. JP Morgan Chase plus Bank One Corp equals JP Morgan Chase & Co. At one point, the 6th largest bank in the U.S., Bank One Corp was the first of many greenback dominions that would be purchased by the millennial newborn that is JP Morgan Chase. Number 2. Google plus Applied Semantics equals Google. Bringing in nearly a quarter of Google's overall revenue in 2014, the company's decision to purchase algorithm after algorithm-based entity proved not only appropriate, but uber beneficial and profitable.
Do what you love and get paid with AdSense.
Founded in 1998 as Applied Semantics, AdSense was successfully purchased by Google in April 2003 and was further developed along with Google's pre-existing AdWords to create the perfect ad-based machine. It's the reason you see the ads you do after doing 1 or 2 searches on something related to it. While other major subsidiaries such as Android and YouTube obviously play major roles in Google's internet kingdom, AdSense takes the win for bringing in a stronger cash flow than both those names combined, and for being the reason that Google was able to purchase them to begin with. Before we unveil our top pick, here are some honorable mentions.
All sorts of different channels?
Yeah, a variety of channels. It's, it'll be your local affiliates, cable stations as well, but they have to jump on board, but this is a standard that's coming.
Okay.
We can create value for our shareholders, build a sustainable and profitable business, and fulfill our mission of helping people to do more, feel better, live longer.
We are excited about the future. Join our conversation. You can always find exactly what you want and make it yours. eBay, your shopping universe.
2 great companies, U.S. Airways and American Airlines,
are coming together to become one world-class airline, the New American.
Number 1. Bell Atlantic plus GTE equals Verizon Communications, Inc. Another one of 7 regional Bell operating companies springing from the original AT&T's dissolution. The company, then known as Bell Atlantic, made a major move by reuniting with sister regional Bell company NYNEX, marking the U.S.'s second largest merger at the time. However, it wasn't until the new millennium and the company's purchase of former parent company's longtime rival GTE that the portmanteau name melding the Latin word for truth and the English word horizon emerged. Hence, Verizon.
The reason why the public, when we talk about the public here, we're not talking about the demons, albinos, anybody with straight hair, the white man, the Caucasian, the mixed and half-mixed people, all right? We are talking about mankind here, black people with woolly hair, and including Orientals also, because they were once black, and by marrying Ammonites, the demons, albinos, anybody with straight hair, whom are Ammonites, as we have showed you where the Ammonites are from on the map, Southeast Asia. Over time, they started having straight hair and lost their black woolly hair. That's what happened with your rentals. When we talk about rentals here, as we have taught you, we are talking about the Koreans, the Chinese, and the Japanese, and the Mongolians. That's it. But continuing right here, the reason why the mankind public hasn't caught up to the fact that their kings, right, are the ones oppressing and killing them and subjecting them for them to be kings is because over centuries after the flood, the descendants of these kings changed their names. So they'll have a different name in one century, and even in that century, they'll give their children different names, raise them in different families, as you heard, as we played you earlier, in which Jeffrey Daniels said that his father didn't raise him. And he was never told that he, Jeffrey Daniel, for 20 years that he worked for Michael Jackson, that they were cousins. He was only told a couple of years after Michael Jackson died by his own father, who showed him the family tree sometime in 2018. So that is what the evil black elites have been doing, led by over the years, to change their names so the public doesn't catch up with them. Because, for example, you see a governor in a state, right? His name could be such a name as, let's say, John Brown, right? He's a governor of a state anywhere in the world, right? Now, John Brown rules, according to the recent democratic process, rules the state as a governor for, let's say, 8 years. And after 8 years, he leaves. After 8 years, somebody else comes in and calls himself John Obama. Because of the name change, you will never know that both Johns, right, are related, because the last name is now different. The last name has changed to John Obama. What you have to understand is this: any name change is a spell, as we have taught you to understand the meaning of a spell. Because whenever a spelling is changed of something, it gives you the wrong information. It loses its history, so you do not know anything. So that's how all through history, in our whole entire lives, when the kings change their names or the companies change their names, it becomes a spell on us, because once the spelling changes of anything, it changes its history and you cannot trace its history back. So that's why it seems like when we are living in this world today, from 2025 to 2026, we have no idea about what transpired. Because once you've come to understand what a spell is just spelling some things wrongly, in the sense that the spell is a pronunciation of a word, but the pronunciation of the word gives you a wrong understanding of what the thing is. So you do not have any understanding at all. And when you have no understanding, your ignorance is used against you, to the betterment, to the profits of the evil black elites led by them. So that is why, if you notice in today's world, if you live, let's say 10 years ago, you find out that companies keep changing their names. So you never know, because the reason why they change the name is this: one generation will not be able to track them to the next generation. That is why they change the name. So, for example, Facebook changed its name in the company or organization that owns it to Meta, right? Now, somebody living in that generation in which Facebook was known as Facebook, right, will only know Facebook as Facebook. Now, somebody living in another generation, which is like 40 years down the line, only knows Facebook as Meta. They will never make the coordination unless they were connected to someone in the era which Facebook said that they were Facebook. Does that make sense? So the history is lost. So that is how all history in our world is lost. If you're not connected to the generation or people before you, which happen to be your parents, your grandparents, and your great-grandparents, you will lose the history, because what you will know in your generation, as they keep changing their names, in the names of the kings and the names of the companies, you will only know the recent name. You will not be able to track that recent name to the name that existed before it. So this is something that the evil black elites, led by, have perfected over the years, to keep changing names of companies. So the next generation will lose the history, because they will not be able to connect the recent name change with the name change that was previously in the generation before them, if somebody does not tell them. Does that make sense? So the next step for you to understand in this graph how the structure of world control happens and is organized and is compartmentalized, as you've come to understand, is that the family, the lineage of kings, they own the primary company, which is cults. Another name for cults is fraternity or confraternity, because it is one and the same thing. So the question that needs to be asked and answered is this: why would these families, all right, a lineage of kings who keep changing their name every generation, so the public doesn't catch up and know that it's one and the same people still ruling them, because they have different names and are raised in different households, just like you heard the story of Jeffrey Daniel. And all of this has been repeated over and over again on several acts of Shape Our World. We're not just going to keep repeating it, but we just want you to understand it. So that's why we're saying it over and over again. So these families, lineage of kings, own cults. Another name for cults is fraternity or confraternity. Why do they own cults? The cults are the primary companies. What does it mean, primary companies? The primary companies are there to make sure that the mindset that you have as a family member, or let's say somebody that they recruit to be cannon fodder that they can use so that the public does not catch up to them, the cults, the confraternity, give you a mindset that sets you and makes you think differently from the public who is being oppressed, subjected, killed, so that the evil elites, the kings, can remain kings, and you call them sir, or you call them your God. Because when you go and ask your government to do something for you, you are praying to a God, because prayer just means asking. That is why when you read in the book of Matthew, what does the so-called fabricated Jesus Christ say? Ask and you shall receive. So when you ask the government for something, you are asking, you are praying to them. They are your God. So the cults or confraternity, as you come to know the name, is just an organization that trains your mindset. It's a company that trains your mindset to be the mindset that the evil black kings of this world, led by, can use, so that they can trust you, that you will continue their line of perversion and evil in doing the evil things that they send you, and then you get rewarded for it. So people don't understand that. So the basis for the foundation for you to work in any company is that you have to, if you're going to be used in that company to achieve any goals that the evil black elites want you to do, you have to belong to a cult. The cult gives you the mindset. So if you notice, pay attention, go into every organization in this world. The top tier people, when we say the top tier people, the people who make decisions in this world, all belong to a cult of some sort. Sigma, Phi, whatever name. And you also have to understand that Christianity And Islam is a cult. It is owned by someone. The primary companies, it is a cult. So the cult trains every single one and is the recruitment center for using the public, for the public that is going to be used to achieve a goal, so that if the public ever wakes up to the idea that they are being oppressed, subjected deliberately, all right, and they know who it is, they can present that public person, all right, to the public for that public person to be castigated, punished, or killed by the public, so the kings behind the scenes continue to live. So they can promote someone, okay? But that person has to be trained in their cults or fraternities or confraternities to have a mindset that will always be what? Controlled and honoring the kings behind the scenes. So all the family members, all right, of these kings also have to belong to a cult. It is there that their mindsets are trained, and everything they know about the world is mind wiped, as they say, brainwashed, so that their only obligation and loyalties is to the cult, which is owned by the kings, the families that run the world, and they will never break rank, because the families that have made them to be whosoever they are in your eye, a public person, a celebrity that is honored, are the ones protecting and guiding them. And they are very confident, because the cults always provide their members security to do whatsoever they want to do, and know that they will always have their backs. But the evil black elites can also give them up. And if they try to say anything of the truth about what they are really doing, they won't be able to say it, because their mindset has been totally destroyed. They don't know nothing else anymore, because they will always consider the public as the enemy, instead of the fact that their cults that they have loyalty to, and the kings and the family members who own the cults and control the cults, are the real enemies. So that's how that works. So let's play you a short clip of a man in Nigeria called Professor Wole Soyinka. Now, Wole Soyinka established a cult, a fraternity or confraternity, the very first confraternity in higher education. When we're talking about higher education here, we're talking about colleges and university in Africa. It was called the Pirates Confraternity. It still does exist. So this now shows you an example of what we are telling you, that the families, the elites, establish cults. And as you've come to tell you, Christianity is also a cult. Islam religion is also a cult. It's owned by someone, because that is where your mindset is trained to honor the cults and not honor reality in listening to your parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents. Because when you go to church every Sunday, or every week, or bi-weekly, or once weekly, or twice in a week, what are you going to do? You're going there to be programmed, so you have loyalty to your church organization. So no matter what happens, you are loyal to your cult. And you're not going to be thinking straight no matter what happens, because look at the way the world is today. People are still loyal to their cults, whether it be Islam or Christianity or any religious society or any confraternity that they belong to. They are still loyal to it, instead of thinking rationally with logic. No matter how bad things are, they are still praying. to Jesus Christ instead of stopping and thinking, I've been praying for several years, I haven't had any answers, things are getting worse, we are dying much more younger, but they are still loyal to their cults. So Islam is a cult. Christianity is a cult. Don't be mistaken by it. And as we've taught you and we're still teaching you, the Islam that you know today, which they tell you that Islam existed maybe 1,000 years ago or so on and so forth, is not true. Islam is a very recent religion, less than 120 years. What they change, because these evil black elites know how to change things so you do not know what it is this. People used to go to Mecca a long time before now to worship at the place where they and the mixed people who came out with them to worship. That is the site right there. Mecca. People always went. But what the evil black elites did, led by, is this. They changed, all right, that place that people whom used to know that this is the place that in all the ethnicities, including the Bantu Egyptian ethnicities, all what the evil black elites did was that when they invented Islam, they now made that place to be the place that is called Mecca, that if you are an Islamic person, that you should still go there and worship. So that has made it look like Islam has existed for so many years, instead of the fact that it's a newly fabricated religion, and a place that was already historical was now made to be the place that the so-called Islam or Muslim people would go to have pilgrimages. And then they wrote this, backdated the time period and history, so you believe that Islam, just like Christianity, has been existing for 2,000 years, when it's all a lie. The religion of Christianity and Islam is not more. It's not more than 170 years max, and Christianity existed first. And Islam is an offshoot of Christianity.
It was here, in this alcove, that it all started. The very first campus fraternity in Nigeria, perhaps in all of Africa. We called ourselves the Pirates, spelled deliberately with a Y. And we gathered as a kind of rebellious gesture against the colonial, formal, rather staid, stuffy atmosphere of the first university of Nigeria.
Back in the 1950s, it was simply a fun and debating society, our passion fueled with pre-independence idealism. After all, we were soon to be freed from the colonial yoke of Britain. We created an imaginary, non-conformist world, a piratical language, and chivalric code. Chivalry? Today's cultist would spit on the word.
So in the clip we played, you would have heard Wole Soyinka, Professor Wole Soyinka, a Nigerian, say that he established the first confraternity cult in higher public education, which means college and universities in Africa, specifically here in Nigeria. And if you heard him talk, he specifically used the word spell, so it just doesn't look like we're just talking throughout this whole entire video. Heard him specifically say that they purposely spelled pirates with a Y, because this is how the elites operate. The evil black elites, they use spellings to confuse us about understanding of what is, so you don't get the right information based on the alphabets. And for a lot of you, you have no idea that the word alphabets comes from the word calf, L, which means Satan, because the word alphabet there is just a spell on the word Aleph, from where you get the word L, which is for Satan. So the word Aleph is the same word as Alpha. It's just a spell. You understand this far, far better with what we said earlier, which is not going to be repeated. So the alphabet, which is a spell so that it can be used for us to make sounds that we will not understand, is in the worship of Satan, because it's from the word Aleph that you have the word Alpha. It's one and the same word. It's just a spell on the pronunciation. Let's show you this so you get it. So as you're seeing right here, it says alpha, which is where you get the word alphabet. It says from Latin alpha, from Greek alpha, from Hebrew or Phoenician Aleph. Do you see that? Aleph is a spell. And what does Aleph mean, as we have shown you? It means ox. An ox is what? A cow or bull, because Satan is a cow, an adapted flying bull, which I already showed you right here. So let's continue on now, because Professor Wole Soyinka said that they specifically spelled pirates with a Y. That is confirmation of everything that we're showing you here. And Professor Wole Soyinka is a top elite. His children, you people watch them on television, but you do not know it's already been revealed on several acts of Shape of World right here. His children are Hollywood A-listers, acting some of the most popular characters in Black history, and you are watching them without knowing. And they are major A-celebrities in a lot of movies that you love watching and you never knew. This is how the elites operate. And we are showing you how here, so you understand the structure of world control. Another thing you may have missed in that particular video of Professor Wole Soyinka talking about that he established the first cult or confraternity in Africa in the college educational system or university system, is that we always have to make you understand the details of everything that's going on, because in all of this that we have said, that the families produce cults. As you can see right here, Professor Wole Soyinka telling you that he produced a cult called Pirates with a spell. We also have to explain this for you so you understand it. Cults also include every educational institution in this world, because you people are listening without really not listening. We tell you that every institution in this world or organization is a company owned by someone. The educational system of this world, all the schools and universities are what? They are also companies owned by someone. In all educational systems of this world, schools, all right, from the kindergarten to high school to secondary school to the university or colleges, they are all cults, because it is in the educational system, which is a subsidiary, all right, of the religious system, is a cult. That is where they give you the mindset of that you are going to be what? You're going to be loyal to whatever mindset they teach you, whether it be in biology, mathematics, or whatever field of endeavor that you want, so that you can now go there with that mindset, be loyal with that mindset, and you can now be given a job in an institution, which is a company. Because without the evil black elites led by an example, an evil black elite right here is Professor Wole Soyinka. Without the cults, the mindset of the people are going to be free to think correctly about everything, just by them looking at the world and nature around you. So this is how the structure of world control works. With the cults, as you have come to understand what a cult is right here. everything that gives you a mindset that is different from the correct way of thinking logically about anything, and you being loyal to that mindset such that you will never go against it, so that you can be used effectively in the power, control, and world structure of these evil black elites, so you never go against it. So step by step now, we are taking you up to the next graph for you to understand the system of this evil world power and control run by the black elites. And all of this is leading you somewhere. Let's continue on. So if you've understood the structure so far as we're teaching you, the structure of world power and control, the structure of evil world power and control, because it's all evil, is based on the fact that the evil black elites led by the have to oppress us, subject us, kill us, murder us for them to be worshipped as kings, because the life that the Creator has no suffering in any way, shape, or form. Everything is provided for us, as you can see with your own eyes. Look around you in nature. You have vegetation, even though the evil flying adapted bull is killing it with his children and demons, albinos, anybody with straight hair. The white man, the Caucasian, the mixed and quarter mixed, half mixed people whom are not Orientals. They are killing the earth, as we've explained and showed you on several acts of Shape a World, and explained the sciences thoroughly for you here on Act 8, so you understand it. But everything else is provided for us. You have water. you have vegetation, you have food around you, you have forests. But yet we are poor and hungry and starving. Why? Because we all believed a lie. A fabricated lie of poverty, because they have taught us not to know how to cater for ourselves. So we think that whatsoever they are telling us is the truth, and this is how life is. That's all they've done. That's why they go into so much effort to make sure they keep regurgitating lies to you through their institutions, which are companies, which they hire the demons, albinos, anybody with straight hair, the white man, the Caucasian, the mixed, quarter mixed and half mixed people, whom are not Orientals, who would grow tails, but all they can talk about is lies because they are not normal to nature. If you're not normal to nature, all you can do is tell a lie. You are not wired right. You're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to exist. But that's what we've been living with for so long after the flood. And they've tried for so long to stop life from living, because let's ask you a question. If you poison someone, are you for life or you against life? You are against life. You don't want life to live. But common sense has been removed from their minds not to know that when you poison someone, you're poisoning them to kill them. In their minds, they think that by poisoning us for demons, albinos, anybody with straight hair who grow tails, right? The white man, the Caucasian, whom are not Orientals. That by poisoning them, they are making them to look like mankind in black people so they can live among us and be slaves to them. That is the mentality of the evil black elites led by the... But when you poison something, you are killing it. They don't know that, but they're going to realize that as we get along right now. So they are against life. When you fabricate poverty, you want to make somebody else poor through a lie. Are you for life or you're against life? You're against life. Because poverty is detrimental. It doesn't make life to exist. The life that we see on the earth right now is life of things which are not supposed to exist. In demons, albinos, anybody with straight hair who grow tails. The white man, the Caucasian, whom are not Orientals. They are not supposed to exist. But they do not know that by poisoning them, thinking they are making them to look like us so that they can be kings, is only killing them. It's just that the rate of death is slow and is going to be very painful from now on. Total suffering for anything that is a demon, albino, anybody with straight hair. The white man, the Caucasian, the mixed people, quarter mixed, half mixed, anyhow they are mixed, who are not Orientals. It's going to be a steady stream of suffering henceforth because they all deserve it. So continuing on to lead you up to the next graph here, which talks about companies, so you understand, as we have already taught you first and foremost, that every institution, organization in this world, doesn't matter what name they come in, is a company owned by someone. So as you're looking at the graph, first and foremost, you understand that families, which are lineages of kings, have specialization in different fields, and there's a controller of those families, and they all keep secrets. All right. Everything is compartmentalized because the whole idea of how this evil world power and control has been able to succeed is by keeping secrets from one another. And if you're keeping secrets and you do not want people to know the truth, you always have to tell them lies and deceive them from the truth, so they do not see the structure that has been set up, all right, and counter it. Because the one thing that you have to understand is this: everything that the evil black elites do, led by, is all evil in every way, shape, or form. And they know that if you know that it is evil, that you're going to counter it. And because evil cannot stand in the face of righteousness. It disintegrates. So they do not want you to do righteousness and disintegrate their evil, because they need the evil to fabricate what? Poverty, oppression, subjection, death for them to remain as kings, because it's all based on knowledge. If you come into knowledge, there are no more secrets, and they can't continue to keep knowledge from you so that you come to them and beg them for everything. Because as we have taught you, when you go to your government and ask them to do something for you, you are praying to a God. The government is your God, because when you ask somebody for something, that person is your God. So as you're looking right here, we've explained this graph for you up to that point. We've made you to understand that the families which run the world have cults, which you know as fraternities or confraternity for some people who don't understand the meaning of the word cult. What is a cult? Cult just comes from the word culture. Pay attention. Cult comes from the word culture. When you culture something, what does that mean? You're grooming it in a certain way, to think a certain way, act a certain way, behave a certain way, and not act in the general way. Does it make sense? You're making something to have a niche. So the cults are there, as we have explained. It includes Christianity, Islam, the educational system, the so-called secret cults of the world. They are grooming people to think a certain way. And what is that certain way? You do not think normally and natural to nature. You're thinking against it, so you can be used at any point in time by the evil black elites led by the said Ibibio leaders to work against your natural instincts. But the people who adhere to cults don't have natural instincts. They are already evil, as we've explained on this Act of Shape of World. So you understand that evil people don't have the same central nervous system as a natural righteous person. And it's all from breaking the commandments of inbreeding and crossbreeding. So when we go up here to this next chart, you have to be trained in the cult. Pay attention. You have to be trained in the cult to work for any company in this world. Isn't it true? You have to understand that before there was a religious system and educational system, right? You worked for yourself. You grew your own food on your farm with your families and with your community, and you ate, and that's it. There was no stress. But when the idea, all right, of religion, okay, and the educational system came in by the kings of this earth they wanted to make sure that you who were growing your own food and taking care of yourself would not become a competition to them. Because when you grow your own food and take care of yourself, you're never going to subject yourself or listen to what any evil king tells you to do, because you are set. You don't need them. Does that make sense? And if you don't need them, you are a competition to them, because they are doing evil and you are not doing evil. And as we have told you, righteousness eviscerates evil. So they had to find a way to make people who were living freely off their own land, planting and growing their own crops as a family and community, to be subjected to them, so that they can be the kings and that you will not be a competition. So how did this come about? It comes about from what? Making you believe that there is something better than what you already have in you growing your own food. All right? And how is that done? by giving you a false prosperity. And how is false prosperity given to you? Through a cult. Does that make sense? The cult now grooms your mindset to think that there is something better than what you already have. So you leave what you already have, which is better, and you now go for what the cult provides. Does that make sense? Let's give you a very typical example. Let's say, for example, a man, okay, has 2 or 3 wives, right? Okay, pay attention. Has 2 or 3 wives. He has his farm, he's growing his food, he has his community, and they're all growing food and living freely off the farm. The cult now introduces orgies. Pay attention to the words. They now introduce orgies. In orgies, you have maybe 7, 8, 10 women, and they are all free flowing for you to do as you wish. So that's what the cult does. It provides a way of thinking which is not normal. So if a man is tempted to look at the fact, oh, so I can have 10 women and once 20 women, 100 women, and just do whatsoever I like, and all of them have no problems, they will commit these orgies with me. He gets tempted. He gets tempted by that. So he goes to the cult which provides this false, all right, reality for him. And he enjoys it. And that's a false prosperity. Does that make sense? When he gets in there, he starts believing every other ideology which the cult tempts him with. That is what all cults of fraternity do. They provide a false reality for you. So you leave what is normal and you go into the false reality. Does that make sense? So that is how all cults operate. They provide a false reality. So you, instead of thinking normally, you now imbibe the false reality, and then you get in trouble. Because the truth is this: the man who had maybe 2 or 3 wives, those wives were very loyal to him. When you go into an orgy, are the women loyal to you? No, they are not. Because first of all, the women who operate in orgies are not normal. You had normality. Women who are loyal to you, you left that because you had a greater number of women whose genetics are not wired right. And they deceived you. And you left your normality for something that was not supposed to exist, because this kind of women who have no inhibitions on what they do are not normal to nature. And that is what cults do. They provide for you fantasies for you to live by and live your normality. So continue on. The family owns cults, as you've come to understand that Christianity, Islam, and all the so-called many other religious sectors and fraternities are all cults. And you understand that cults is from the word culture, grooming you in a certain way. After you've groomed down, then you can now work for a company, because all of you can bear testimony to this. Before you get hired in any company in this world, you have to have an education, right? The education is a cult. And the truth is this, which you have never paid attention. All the education that you have in this world came from religious cults. Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, whatever name. All the schools that you go to came from this. Because the schools and educational system, whether it be high school, colleges or university, or primary school or secondary school from kindergarten are all what? They are all subsidiaries of the religious cults. So they groom you in a certain way so you can always function that way and never go against the evil black elites led by the to think in a normal way and establish a righteous organization, a righteous institution, a righteous company which will eviscerate their evil. Do you understand that? So, after you've been trained in any cult, you now get hired into a company. As looking at this map right here in this graph, you can read it very well. It says here companies, and as we read, it says all institutions, countries are companies owned by families. Families here refers to the lineage of the kings of the earth. And it goes on to say the police institution is a company owned by families. The heads of these companies can be family members who own the companies or public members who report to the owners of the companies. Family heads traverse through all their companies and then to government, which make the laws for their companies to act and do. No one who is not a family controller or leader can rise to the rank of executive of the companies, no matter how hard they work, because they are not the owner of the company and did not create or make the company. So this is one thing you have to realize. The evil black elites have companies. Companies is any organization, institution. It doesn't matter what name it says they are. They are all companies owned by someone. They have rules, regulations, and guidelines to make sure that the company achieves its goal and purpose, and at the end of the day, the goal and purpose is to oppress, subject, kill, and murder anyone who thinks against their own goals and purposes. Does that make sense? So when you're inside any company and you see that there is a lot of evil practices, right? And you try to change it, you're wasting energy and time. But they do not want you to understand you're wasting your energy and time. They have to give you the runaround and you keep doing it thinking that you're making changes. The only way you can make real change is to start your own company and correct all the evil that they were doing in the company that you work for. Anything else is just a runaround. Because when somebody sets up a company or institution, it has a purpose which they want that company to achieve. They will never allow you, an employee, a stranger, not the owner and creator of the company, to ever come in and go against their other rules and regulations. The only reason why they make you believe that you can make a change in a company when you find out that the company is doing something wrong, what they are doing is wrong, is to give you the runaround. Why did they give you the runaround? Because once you know the truth, right, you will go out of the company because you can't deal with the evil anymore, and you will establish your own company and counter what you're doing. That is why they give you the runaround, thinking that you can make a difference in the company that has already been established with laws and regulations to do evil. Let's break this down further for you to understand. There are companies who manufacture drugs of all kinds. Coke, heroin, whatever name you want to call it, meth, so on and so forth, which is detrimental to society. And they still provide these drugs to the public. All right? And they call it pharmaceuticals, as you've come to understand what pharmaceuticals means. So now, let's say, for example, you go to a company and you find out they are producing a drug that's very detrimental to society, right? It can be any of the huge pharmaceutical companies, Pfizer, all right, so on and so forth, all right? And you go there and say, oh, sir, as somebody who has studied with a little bit of knowledge that I have, this drug here, or whatsoever we are producing, cosmetic, or let's say cleaning solution, bleach, all right, has so much chemicals that are adversely affecting our people. I think we should change it. Here's what the manager who has been trained, or the director who is a part of the owner of the company will tell you. Oh man, I mean, what you're saying doesn't make sense. I never thought about it this way. Then they'll lie and say, why don't our research teams know this information? And you're gonna go with the conversation. Yes, you will say, oh, why don't they know? Then he will tell you, the director, oh, I didn't figure this out. It's all a lie. He's lying right in front of you. Why is he lying to you? And pretending he doesn't know that the chemicals or products that they are producing is detrimental to health. Because he is a part of the families who own that institution. They know the reason why they are creating those drugs which are detrimental to society. They are creating it so their demons, albinos, anybody with straight hair who grow tails, the white man, the Caucasian, the mixed, quarter mixed people whom are not Orientals, those drugs are there for them not to grow those tails on animal features. So now he's listening to you and pretending that he cares about what you're saying. Why is he pretending? He doesn't want you to know the truth. So he gives you a form and says, fill this out, send it to a research team so they can take a look at what you're saying and deal with it. And you do that honestly, right? Because you think that you are making some change. You fill that out, right? They send you an email. This has been filled out. It's been forwarded to the research team. The research team sends you an email back saying, we have gotten the research, we're looking into it. 3 months to 4 months later, they send you another email, a follow-up, and say, okay, we looked into it, we're seeing that this thing is bad. Then a couple of months down the line, you fall sick. When you fall sick, you can't work anymore, right? And you have to be at home. They pay for your medical fees for a couple of months, and then after that, it shuts down. And then after that, you die. Do you think in any way, shape, or form that you were purposely poisoned because of what you spoke, but because you do not know how the structure of world power and control works, and you do not know the truth of what is happening in the world, you have died and nobody knows? And then they're just gonna blame it on some sickness and disease instead of the fact that you were poisoned. Do you see what we're telling you now? You can never make real change in anything that you do not own. Please listen and listen well. You can never make change to something you do not own. You can only make changes to what you own. The best way to even explain this further better so you get it is this. You cannot go to someone's car and try to repair it. It is someone's car. The owner owns the car. You just can't see a car that has broken down and you see it's parked in someone's garage and you go in there to repair it. No! You can only repair and fix things that are your own. But we've been trained not to think logically about things, so we don't understand how the way the world works. By believing that you can make changes in a company that hired you. You are not the owner. But you see what they are doing that is evil, and you try to force a change or tell them that there is something wrong there. Don't do that. The right way to make a change is in something that you own, not something that you do not own. So that is why they have lied to us throughout the years, not to understand that you can never make changes or difference in something you do not own. That is why they brought about the stock exchanges of the world.
That India's NSE is among the world's top 10 most valuable stock exchanges. But on which number does it stand? And who is number 1? Let's take a look. On number 10, we have Korea Exchange with a market cap of $1.6 trillion. On number 9, we have Deutsche Börse AG, which is a German exchange with a market cap of $1.9 trillion. On number 8, we have TMX Group, which is a Canadian exchange with a market cap of $2.7 trillion. Number 7, we have London Stock Exchange with a market cap of $3.1 trillion. And finally, on number 6, we have National Stock Exchange, which is NSE, with a market cap of $3.5 trillion. On number 5, we have Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing with a market cap of $4.6 trillion. Number 4, we have Shenzhen Stock Exchange from China with a market cap of $4.7 trillion. On number 3, we have Euronext with a market cap of $6.1 trillion. And on number 2, we have Shanghai Stock Exchange from China with a market cap of $6.7 trillion. And finally, on number 1, we have NYSE or New York Stock Exchange, which is the largest in terms of market cap as of December 2022 data, with a market cap of $24.1 trillion.
What do the stock exchanges of the world tell you? That several companies, for example, let's say Apple or Samsung or LG, all right, or any other company in the world like Pfizer, that you can go buy shares in those companies, all right, and that by some means that you can become a shareholder that can make a difference. It's all a lie. Those stock exchanges are training you in a mindset to believe that you can make a change in a company that you did not create. Because when you go buy shares in any company in this world, all right, Apple, Samsung, Amazon, Walmart, so on and so forth, you actually believe that you are a shareholder. It's all a mindset to train you so you do not go and establish your own company and make a real difference. Because you as a shareholder, even if you say that you have 1 million shares in Apple, Samsung, Best Buy, Walmart, Amazon, so on and so forth, with all the companies in this world, you can never ever make any change in those companies because you do not own them. You did not create them. That is the reason for the stock exchanges in the world, such as the New York Stock Exchange and every other exchange in this world. It's all literally made for you to think that you can go get some shares from a company that you do not own and create, and that you can make a difference. Why? So you never establish your own and become a competitor and reveal all the evil that they are doing, and they run out of business. It's that simple. But these are the lengths, breadths, and depths that the evil black elites go in this world, led by with their evil brood of demons, albinos, anybody with straight hair who grow tails, the white man, the Caucasian, mixed, quarter mixed, whatever mix they are, whom are not Orientals, to deceive you from knowing the truth of what's going on. So you never establish your own in righteousness and eviscerate them, because righteousness eviscerates evil. Nobody in this world, pay attention to the words, nobody in this world can stand evil. The people who do evil to other people do it because that is what they enjoy. They are not normal and natural to nature. If your brother, pay attention to the words, if your brother is suffering and you see him, he doesn't have any food to eat, and you have $1 billion, won't you make him have some to eat as your brother? But how come in this world there are so many people dying of starvation, of sickness and everything, and the richest man in the world, whatever name they come in, whether in Africa's richest man called Dangote, or whether Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, as they've made us to believe, and all the other people, whether it be Oprah Winfrey or whether it be Warren Buffett or whatever name, how come that you have this amount of money and there's so much suffering and death in this world and you cannot make it better? Because they don't want things to get better. That is how evil thinks. So you have to understand this, so you're no longer deceived on the structure of world control. So the next chart right here on the top, which shows here government, the heads and owners of all companies are the government. The government directly controls the media companies which they own, and law enforcement companies. They make the laws for all of their companies to follow and do. No one can be a president or contest for presidency that is not an owner, a head and controller of companies and their families. The public is lied to believe that government is for the public, so they do not make their own companies and become rivals to the elite. Elections are all a scam to make the public believe that the government is for them, and they are lied to that working hard can take them to the position or rank in government like president, senator, house rep, governor, etc. It is impossible for someone who owns a company to promote an employee of the company to the position whom the owner of the company holds. Only family members can come to the position or rank which the owner of the company holds. Now, why is all of this necessary for you to understand? First of all, from the bottom of this chart that you're looking at on the structure of evil world power and control, only one person who is an heir is going to traverse through all of these stages in world power and control. That means the only person who can traverse through all these stages is going to be what? The heir of family head. If you're not an heir or family head of the evil lineages of kings, you can never traverse through all the stages. Why is this important for you to know? Because once you've come to understand that everything is compartmentalized, which means keeping secrets, then you can understand how the system of world control and power works. Because people don't understand this. This is why the priesthood is here to break it down for you so you understand. Government, when you hear the word government, in any country of the world, what you have to understand is this is very simple. The government are the heads of the families who own all the companies in the world. It's difficult for you to understand, but we're breaking it down now simply for you to understand this. The government is the head of the families of all the companies in the world, as you've come to understand that all the institutions or organizations in this world are companies owned by someone, and the people who own them are the heads of the families, and the heads of the families or heirs of those families become the government. That is why, for example, you will always notice this, which a lot of people never pay attention to. Someone is going to be, let's say, a director or hold some sort of elite position in a company, like say Chevron, a gas company, or Mobil, or let's say they hold an elite position in the power sector or nuclear sector, then before you know it, they become what? They become a senator, a governor, or the president of a country. And when you look through how they came up, they were either in one part of a company that controls a lot of things. They could have been a chief executive of a bank. All right? Then they get promoted to be either something like the governor of the state, all right, a minister of a federal republic, all right, or the president. Let's take example in such persons as the transgender demon albino, anybody with straight hair, current president of the United States from 2025 to 2026, all right, in Donald Trump. Donald Trump, in what sector of business was Donald Trump in? Let's show you before we continue on. So as you can read here, the transgender born female made to look like a man in Donald Trump, as you can see here in his Wikipedia page. Did Tricks of the S-Trade write the Wikipedia page? No. Did the priesthood write the Wikipedia page? No. So we are just providing facts that they wrote for you to understand what's going on. When you read in the Wikipedia page of Donald Trump, what does it say? It says, born into a wealthy New York family, as we have made you to understand that first of all, for you to be a part of the power control structure of this world, you have to be born into families which are kings, lineages that has long existed. And Donald Trump here, which you people never knew, we've already revealed this, but we're just going through it over and over again. Donald Trump is a member of the Carnegie family or Carnegie family, anyhow that you idiots choose to pronounce Carnegie or Carnegie. You know who we're talking about in Andrew Carnegie. The so-called demons albinos, anybody with straight hair, whom they said established American society, because it's all a fraud, as you've come to understand, that anybody who's an albino, anybody with straight hair, demon who grows a tail because of all the poisonings, those tails do not show up. They are all nothing but servants to an African black mankind, all right, whom use them and front them for you not to know that the richest, wealthiest people in the world are blacks, Africans from Africa, so that you'll never attack them. They give the fronts. So if you want to go attack Donald Trump now and kill him, go ahead. That is all done so you will never attack them, because normal thinking tells you if you're the richest, wealthiest person in the world, you protect yourself. You don't reveal yourself so nobody knows you and attacks you. But you confront someone, and that's what you're understanding right here. But continue on. We're going back to the basics, so you understand this. It says, born into a wealthy family, New York City family, Trump graduated from the University of Pennsylvania. University of Pennsylvania, what is it? A cult that trains you to think in a certain mindset, so you can function in a company or specialization owned by whom? A king, right? Continuing, he says, in 1960, with a bachelor's degree in economics, he became the president of the family. Do you see that? President of his family's real estate. That means the heir of his family, right? In 1971, renamed it the Trump Organization. Huh! Everything we're saying, you're literally seeing here as we're reading. And he goes and say, and began acquiring and building skyscrapers, hotels, casinos, and golf courses, right? So Donald Trump was in what? In companies before he went into government, right? So what does that tell you? Let's continue on. So by looking at this chart, you now understand in very simple terms. For you to be in government and be at the head of government in whatever capacity, senator, House of Representatives, governor, all right, president. You have to be a member of the what? The king's family and lineages. And only those who get to government, right, traverse through all these stages to arrive here. Why do they have to traverse through all these stages? Because they are heirs and have to know how everything works, from their family to the cult which recruits, reprogram people, and everybody else has to pass through this for them to get employed in a company, all right, so they can think only about what the company wants them to think about, specialization. And then they get into government. What is government? The government are the leaders and heirs of all the families in this world, right? Who own all the companies in this world? As you've come to understand that anything in this world that's an organization or institution is a company. Now, these people who sit at the top of government, who are the government, make the laws for their companies. That's why, for example, Barack Obama comes in and says, all right, General Motors, Chrysler, the rest of these companies have to do this, all right, for them to continue on providing services to the American people and everywhere in the world. The companies do that exactly. Why would the companies follow the government's laws? This is what they don't teach you. Because the companies are owned by the government. But you don't know that because they don't want you to know.
We cannot and must not, and we will not, let our auto industry simply vanish. And so today I'm announcing that my administration will offer GM and Chrysler a limited additional period of time to work with creditors, unions, and other stakeholders to fundamentally restructure in a way that would justify an investment of additional taxpayer dollars. During this period, they must produce plans that would give the American people confidence in their long-term prospects for success. I know that when people hear the word bankruptcy, it can be unsettling. So let me explain exactly what I mean. What I'm talking about is using our existing legal structure as a tool that, with the backing of the U.S. government, can make it easier for General Motors and Chrysler to quickly clear away old debts that are weighing them down so that they can get back on their feet and onto a path to success. A tool that we can use even as workers staying on the job, building cars that are being sold. What I'm not talking about is a process where a company is simply broken up, sold off, and no longer exists. We're not talking about that. And what I'm not talking about is a company that's stuck in court for years, unable to get out. If you buy a car from Chrysler or General Motors, you will be able to get your car serviced and repaired just like always. Your warranty will be safe. In fact, it will be safer than it's ever been because starting today, the United States government will stand behind your warranty.
All the companies in this world, it doesn't matter what name they come in. International Monetary Fund, the World Health Organization, the World Bank, the European Bank, the Asian Bank, the Africa Development Bank. It doesn't matter. The people in the government own all of them. They are the ones who make the laws for those companies to do. But they don't want you to understand that. Why don't they want you to understand that? Because if you understand that the government whether it be your city, local government, state government, country government, example, the United States government owns all the companies in this world, you are going to realize that you, as the public, are in a monopoly and that you can never succeed. So what will you do? You will try to create your own company and counter their evil practices. And if you are countering their evil practices with righteousness, they are going to be eviscerated. Does that make sense? So that's why if you are not a member of the family of lineages of this world, you can never be in a position of saying governor, senator, House of Representatives, or a president. But they have to make you believe all these lies because they do not want you to go and establish your own company in righteousness and be a rival and counter to them, which is going to eviscerate them, because everybody can see it that the government of this world is evil. But they have made you to believe that if you work hard enough, that you can change it, but you cannot. Because as we have taught you, you can never change something that you do not own. But they make you believe this. That is why they bring about elections, to make you believe that a company that you do not own in the government, you go and try to elect, let's say, a senator, a House of Representative member, all right, a governor or president. By you going into the election, you believe that you are making changes, that you can change the way things work. Why do they make you believe that? So you never go and make your own and counter them. Because you cannot make changes to something you do not own. But they have to make you believe this. So that's why they set up elections. They will even promote you. Let's say, for example, somebody outside, which is not a part of government, has a business and has been able to push that business along, that it's growing very well, and he makes some money, right? And then he starts having thoughts of being maybe a governor or House of Representative member or a senator or president. And he starts using his money to try to get into those places. They will welcome you, all right? And say you should go along. Also that you can tell a story that seems organic when it's not organic. Because at the end of the day, no matter what money you make, when you are not a part of the families and lineages of kings in this world, you will run out the money. Why? Because the evil families, which Donald Trump belongs to, print money. Saying with such people as Obama, they print money, but they have to make you believe that they do not print money by saying, oh, let's talk to the people to donate some money for this campaign, like Obama did when he was trying to be president, which he wasn't trying. He was already selected, elected, is all arranged. He's part of the families. If you're not part of those families, you can never be president. But they have to make the public believe otherwise. So they go on a campaign just to make you believe that bullshit. They are trying to gather money from the public, and you stupid, evil public person, you make $1,000. You say, I believe in Obama. You send him $100 to his campaign promises. They send you an email back, say, thank you very much. So you believe that your stupid $100 and contribution from other people made Obama president. That is how they deceive you not to know the truth.
Right now, Jessica, how does all this compare with what the Republican presidential candidates raised over the past 3 months?
Well, simply, it dwarfs the numbers that the Republicans have raised so far. Let's compare apples to apples. So just the amount of money raised for the Obama campaign alone, let's take out the money raised for the Democratic Party. The president raised more than $47 million in just 3 months. Now add all the money the major Republican candidates who reported, Michelle Bachmann has not reported. So 6 candidates taken together have raised about $37.5 million. Okay, and now let's break down the president's numbers even further. His haul comes from more than 550,000 individual donors, we're told by the campaign. And according to the campaign, 98% of those donations were in the amount of $250 or less. That's small donors. Now, that's according to the campaign. We have to look at those numbers ourselves and analyze it. But if that's true, that shows grassroots enthusiasm. That's the kind of enthusiasm that matters in a campaign. That's what they said they were looking for. That could translate to a lot more donations down the line. Here's campaign manager Jim Messina warning the grassroots, though, that despite all these big numbers so far, don't get complacent. Now, that's one side of the story. American Crossroads, you've heard of them. That's that top conservative outside spending group. They say, quote, the $1 billion Obama team will far outspend the Republican outside groups, and they call that, from Jim Messina, a, quote, fundraising hook.
And let's not forget that President Obama supporters have outside spending groups that they've created as well, just like the Republicans have done. All right, so what's the downside of the Obama campaign making such a big deal about these numbers?
There are a few things. First of all, Republicans are already dinging the president for campaigning. He's been doing it already. Prior to the debt talks, he did no fewer than 30 fundraisers in 3 months, many on the same trip that he also did official events so that the campaign did not pick up the whole travel tab. Also, a number of Democratic donors have complained to me that they think it's unseemly for the president's campaign to be boasting now of such a fat fundraising haul during what are grim economic times when people are out of jobs and when Washington, frankly, can't get its act together to avoid a default. And then finally, there is what you point out, Wolf, that there is plenty of Democratic money going to outside spending groups on the Democratic side. Here's just one. Clearly, that's a Democratic message. So when we talk about undisclosed donors, they're coming on both sides of the aisle.
And the president doesn't even have a Democratic challenger for the party's nomination, unlike Jimmy Carter, who did have a Democratic challenger, Ted Kennedy, as a lot of us will remember. So he's raising a ton of money right now. Thanks very much, Jessica.
They print money freely. They have a printing machine that prints dollars, whatever currency that they want. You, who as a hard-working person will work to get that money, right? Don't have a printer to print the money. But they will make you believe that this is the way things are. Why? So you, the hard worker, do not know that you have been deceived and that you are lied to. And then you come to the conclusion, I'm going to start my own company and remove all the evil that these evil people have done with righteousness and do things right, correctly, the way it's supposed to be done. So, do you understand what we're saying now? You can never be anything in government because government is a company owned by someone. If you did not establish that company, which is the government, example in the government of the United States of America, you will never allow an employee to come up to the rank of being equal to you, the owner of the company, example in the United States government. Does that make sense now? Everything they teach you on how this world works, especially as a lot of us have been made to come to believe in elections and government, is all a lie. Once you come to understand that every institution or organization in this world is a company owned by someone, and that you can never allow someone who is not a member of your family or an heir of your family to own something you make. You will never allow a stranger to come and own something that you created yourself. But through training us wrongly not to understand how things work, you have believed the lie. You can only make a change in something that is your own. Pay attention to the words. You can only make a change to something that is your own. If you have a problem with your tooth, you can't go and repair someone else's tooth to fix your problem. You go and fix the problem with your tooth. Does that make sense? But you've not been taught. So every time you go and say that you're going to an election to vote someone into office to make a change for you, you have been deceived. The person that you're voting for, you do not know. He's not a member of your family. He has no connection with you. How is he going to make a change that affects you? He's not your son. He's not your brother. He's not your mother. He's not your father. He's not your sister. Do you understand that now? Real change starts from you making your own. So, continuing on here, one of the things we have to share with you so you fully understand is this also. All right? As you look at the chart right here, you can see that it says government, the heads and owners of all companies are the government. The government directly controls the media companies, which they own, and law enforcement companies. Because everything is compartmentalized and secrets are kept even down to the family members who will not know how they are related, as we have shown you earlier. All of this is done so that nobody can reveal what is going on and who is in control. So because everybody is keeping secrets, either they are taught to keep secrets or they don't know it by ignorance, right? They still have to be controlled. So what's the best way for the family elites, the controllers of the families, the heirs of the families, the leaders of the families, of the lineages of kings, to control their own population and the public? The only way to do that is for them to directly control the media companies and law enforcement companies, right? So if someone goes out of line, they directly can create and fabricate a story on them, or if somebody is not doing what they want in their companies, they can use the media to fabricate a story, and then law enforcement is used to track the fabricated story and arrest, judge, or kill someone that is not doing what they're supposed to do based on the orders given to them by the government, who are the heirs and leaders of the families who own all the companies in this world. Does that make sense? So therefore, the only companies that the government directly controls, and the others, they sublet it to members of their families who have their own specialization to do whatsoever in any company. The government directly controls the media and law enforcement. So that is why every news that you hear, the BBC gives you a report, the CNN gives you a report, Fox gives you a report, the government directly controls that. Because that is the only way that they can control everybody else, based on the fact that nobody else knows what's going on except them. They can fabricate a story or create any story and use law enforcement to follow up on the story, just to make sure that they control whosoever is in their companies, as you've come to understand that all institutions and organizations are companies owned by someone.
Africa now, Eritrea. It is isolated and underreported since the government shut down all private media outlets in 2001. The country has been embroiled in a series of regional disputes too. There was the war with neighbouring Ethiopia, which ended 10 years ago, but having claimed more than 100,000 lives. Jane Dutton went to interview Eritrea's president, Isaias Afwerki.
Mr. President, in December, the United Nations imposed sanctions on Eritrea for what they say was supporting armed groups like Al-Shabaab in Somalia. Do you feel as though you've been unfairly victimized?
It's a mockery of justice and history. In our political culture, we've never believed and we don't believe religion is an alternative or substitute for political, social, and economic problems in any one country or any society. We've never entertained the idea of Sharia being a solution or Islam being a solution, as many may like to appreciate. How possibly can one blame Eritrea for sympathizing or supporting one group against the other in Somalia? We've never done that.
Why would the United Nations and the African Union say that this is what you are doing, that you're supporting?
Where are these evidences in the first place? What are they saying? That's where I come to say this is a mockery of justice.
Are you using Somalia as a battleground to fight Ethiopia?
It's not a battleground with Ethiopia. This border issue was a senseless conflict instigated by the United States in the first place, for the record.
If Ethiopia were to withdraw from Badme, that's the border town that you are referring to, if they had to withdraw from that, would you then take this country off the war footing?
It's not a problem with Ethiopia. We've never had any problems with Ethiopia. We worked with these people for almost 2 decades to remove a government in Ethiopia. And we wanted to see a relationship between Eritrea and Ethiopia based on mutual respect and commonality of interest, and we worked for decades for that. And now we're talking about a misguided policy of the United States that wants to create crisis here, political problems here and there, and micromanage those problems.
All those allegations leveled against Eritrea about being one of the main backers behind destabilizing this region, destabilizing the Horn of Africa. Is that not true?
Who is destabilizing the Horn of Africa? Who has been supporting warlords in Somalia for the last 20 years? Who has intervened in Somalia, invaded Somalia? Who has wanted to put governments from outside? We have 3 strategic interventions the last 8 or 10 years where people have tried to impose governments from outside.
And that's not what you're doing in this region.
This is destabilizing Somalia, and by destabilizing Somalia, you destabilize the region.
So in the clip that we're going to play for you of a senator in Nigeria explaining the fact that the Nigerian Senate is run as a cult, in Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. That's a name who had a problem with the Senate president in Nigeria called Senator Godswill Akpabio. What you have to understand is this. Most of the news that you hear in government, or let's say drama in government, or any problems that they have in government, is actually fabricated, is not real. The real issues never get to the media. The media is only used to shape the minds of people to actually believe that the government in some way is working for them, when it is in no way, shape, or form working for you. It is only working for you to believe that they're working for you, so you do not go and create your own company or government and do things right for yourself and your own people. So when you're going to listen to this story, because the source of this story, the reason for even Senator Natasha having a problem with Godswill Akpabio, the Senate President of Nigeria in 2025 or 2026, she is going to talk about the fact that she was being either in some way being abused, or let's say an intention to abuse, and that is the reason for the issue that she had. What you have to understand is this, is that we are so far from reality, because when you look at Senator Natasha here, you can tell this is a half-mixed animal. If not for all the poisons fed to us, this Senator Natasha, which is claimed to be very beautiful, right, would have hair all over her face and grow a tail. But in today's world, we are so far from reality that people, or beings, let's call them beings, love the idea that they are mixed. They love the idea of being closer to an animal than being mankind. This is one of the reasons that was given, that because Senator Natasha is so beautiful, that is why the Senate President of Nigeria in 2025 to 2026 in Godswill Akpabio was trying as much as possible to either abuse her or insist to abuse her, so she could not function well as a senator. But listen to the story, because at the end of the day, all what we're trying to show you here is that the whole entire structure of world control and power is based on the ideologies of a cult. Because cults have what? They have rules, regulations, guidelines that everybody must adhere to, because a cult has a plan. The rules, regulations, laws, and guidelines is a plan to achieve a purpose and a goal. And that purpose and goal is that at all times that the people must have loyalty to the lineages of kings and not to themselves or the people, to do things right and correctly. Let's continue on now.
Petition is in my name against the President of the Nigerian Senate, His Excellency Senator Godswill Akpabio, for sexual harassment, abuse of office, and malicious obstruction of my legislative functions. You may recall, sir, that on Friday in Arise TV, I did make some statements. And I have decided to narrow these statements in a formal petition against the President of this Senate. So if it may please you, I would humbly step forward and lay this petition. Thank you.
You may proceed.
This is in court now.
Distinguished colleagues, this petition is hereby referred to the Committee on Code of Conduct, Ethics and Public Petitions to revert to the Senate as soon as practicable.
Petition.
Any other petition? Yes.
It started in the year 2023 on the 8th of December. We were at his country home. He was taking me around his house. My husband was walking behind us, held my hand. And then we got to this particular room where when he noticed my husband was a few steps away, he then squeezed my hands in a very suggestive way. We're women, we know what it means when a man squeezes his hands, squeezes our hands in a suggestive way. And he went, I'll make an opportunity for us to come here and have a good moment, along that line. And then I just took my hands off and I looked back. I saw my husband was near us. My husband looked at me as if he heard some part of that, but he wasn't so sure. So he looked at him as well. And then the Senate President, of course, sensing the awkward moment, now said, oh, there's a chapel over there as well. Let's go and we'll show you the chapel. He had a chapel in his house. So we went there. So my husband asked me a few moments afterwards, what did he tell you? And I didn't want to cause any friction because we were very good friends. My husband respected him a whole lot. So I said, you know what, Natasha, hold this up, resist it. It's going to be fine. You can manage it. What I thought I was going to manage just didn't seem so. Episode after episode, moments after moment.
So it was multiple times?
Yeah, it was multiple times.
Did the Senate President ever make any sort of advances towards you in the chamber or in the Senate?
Yes, in front of senators. He's done that. There was a time I forgot to wear my ring. I rushed to work, forgetting to wear my ring. And there were about 5 senators there. And he was, oh, Natasha, you're not wearing your ring. Is this an invitation to treat? And then there was another time he made a statement like, Natasha, your husband is really enjoying. It looks like you'll be able to make good movements with your waist.
So the Senate President said this?
He says that, yeah. He makes such sexy statement, and then they all laugh.
When the Senate President allegedly made this comment to you, there were other senators present?
Yeah. They said, in the Senate, we're all men. She should be used to this.
How did the other senators respond to that?
Just laugh. The culture of shaming a woman who dares speak of something that is like a taboo is real. And that is that culture we must break and shred.
So when you presented your petition for sexual harassment, it was dismissed by the Senate on procedural grounds. They said it was inadmissible because you signed it yourself. Were you aware that this was a requirement?
No. They said that I had no right to sign the petition myself. I am not supposed to sign my petition because a senator is receiving petitions from her or his constituents. But here, first time in the history of Nigeria, a senator is laying a sexual harassment petition seeking justice. When I submitted the petition on the 5th of March 2025, I was suspended the next day from the Nigerian Senate.
The Senate say that you were suspended for, quote, gross misconduct and unruly behavior, and not because you brought sexual harassment allegations against the Senate President. How would you respond to that?
When they say I my suspension was as a result of gross misconduct. That is not true. We have seen senators shout, scream, use insultive words, fight, tear each other's clothes, but they were not suspended. So I believe also again that I am being victimized. My suspension is a means of silencing me. You see, in the Nigerian Senate, it operates like a cult. Even the opposition have been silenced. You wonder, why is the Nigerian Senate not as vibrant as that of South Africa's or Kenya? I mean, there are other parliaments we see. There is this culture of fear.
Fear of who?
Fear of the institution, fear of the leadership, fear of the Senate president. I mean, if you confront the Senate president or if you express contrary views, you risk a chance of being stripped of your privileges. You will not speak. If you are a member of certain committees, like what happened to me, you will be removed. You will be sidelined of very important programs that you think could help project your own expertise. You will be cut off a lot of privileges. And that is undemocratic.
You see, in the Nigerian Senate, it operates like a cult. Even the opposition have been silenced. You wonder, why is the Nigerian Senate not as vibrant as that of South Africa's or Kenya? I mean, there are other parliaments we see. There is this culture of fear.
Fear of who?
Fear of the institution, fear of the leadership, fear of the Senate president. I mean, if you confront the Senate president or if you express contrary views, you risk a chance of being stripped of your privileges. You will not speak. If you are a member of certain committees, like what happened to me, you will be removed. You will be sidelined of very important programs that you think could help project your own expertise. You will be cut off a lot of privileges. And that is undemocratic.
You see, in the Nigerian Senate, it operates like a cult. Even the opposition have been silenced. You wonder, why is the Nigerian Senate not as vibrant as that of South Africa's or Kenya? I mean, there are other parliaments we see. There is this culture of fear.
Fear of who?
Fear of the institution, fear of the leadership, fear of the Senate president. I mean, if you confront the Senate president or if you express contrary views, you risk a chance of being stripped of your privileges. You will not speak. If you are a member of certain committees, like what happened to me, you will be removed. You will be sidelined of very important programs that you think could help project your own expertise. You will be cut off a lot of privileges. And that is undemocratic.
You see, in the Nigerian Senate, it operates like a cult. Even the opposition have been silenced. You wonder, why is the Nigerian Senate not as vibrant as that of South Africa's or Kenya? I mean, there are other parliaments we see. There is this culture of fear.
Fear of who?
Fear of the institution, fear of the leadership, fear of the Senate president. I mean, if you confront the Senate president or if you express contrary views, you risk a chance of being stripped of your privileges. You will not speak. If you are a member of certain committees, like what happened to me, you will be removed. You will be sidelined of very important programs that you think could help project your own expertise. You will be cut off a lot of privileges. And that is undemocratic.
So the short clip we played for you was of a senator in Nigeria called Senator Natasha. And Senator Natasha is a senator in the Nigerian Senate system in the year 2025 to 2026 as you're listening to this recording. Senator Natasha had a problem with the Senate president, which is called Godswill Akpabio. And she made these statements in the sense that the Nigerian Senate operates like a cult because people don't understand this. That's why we're showing you all these videos. And as we've always told you, if you've never grown up and lived in Africa for at least 11 years of your life, you have no idea about reality and how things really work, because all the nations outside of Africa are controlled by Africans, and they are using those propaganda states to make the Africans not to understand their reality and know how to think. So if you're listening to a stupid Black American talk, or any evil demon albino, anybody with straight hair who grow tails, try to teach you about reality, they are all teaching you lies because they have never lived in Africa, and you will never have the understanding. So here, Senator Natasha, as we played the short clip, tells you that the Nigerian Senate is run like a cult, a fraternity, because this is the reality. If you do not belong to the members of the families, as Senator Natasha here belongs, you can never be in government. So everything they tell you, say, come and vote, elections, so on and so forth, is to deceive you from knowing that truth. Because no matter how much money you have as an individual and you try to get into government to make real changes, because that's what they have made us to believe, that you can only make changes when you're in government, when you can make changes by starting your own company and doing business the right way and doing it correctly in righteousness. They make you believe that the changes that you can make comes from government. So no matter how much money you make, they print money freely. So you will run broke. Because if you were to get a form to be a senator, House of Representative, or governor, or president, it runs into millions of dollars. That is why they had to set up the false campaign. Because the more campaigns you go, the more money you spend. You're not going to have that kind of money except you're printing money freely. All to lie to you, so you actually do believe that making real differences comes from you still walking the system and trying to change it, instead of you establishing your own in righteousness and working it, because you can never change anything that is not your own. Let's continue now, because we're leading you somewhere for you to understand what's going on, so you can understand how they can manufacture, which is the number one poisons fed to us. So demons, albinos, anybody with straight hair, the white man, the Caucasian, the mixed and quarter mixed people whom are not Orientals, do not grow their tails and animal features. So you can understand how the whole supply chain and the production chain works, because everything is compartmentalized, which means keeping secrets on how things are made. And as you have come to understand this, for it to be possible for anything to be compartmentalized, it has to be of a necessity that someone owns the whole entire chain of production of what we get. Let's continue on.